Aloha, awinala, good afternoon. I wanted to say aloha to everybody out there, to all of our relatives, and my apologies for starting this video late. We were having some technical difficulties, so hopefully you are able to hear me and hopefully you are able to see me okay. Again, my name is Malia and I'm a community healer here. I identify as Native Hawaiian, so a great way of healing for me, and I'm so honored to be able to teach you today, is through my ancestral teachings of hula. I want to say as well, here with me today is one of our CARES counselors, and he is also filming, and that is Xavier Smart. Aloha, Xavier.
Hi.
We will be spending Friday afternoons at 12:30 when we're not having technical difficulties here at the HIR Wellness studio. We are currently in the dance room. And I really did want to start out our first video talking a little bit about Hawaiian culture, some of the aspects of Hawaiian culture and how we can help to integrate that into our lives for healing and wellness. And I want to talk a little bit about the spirit of aloha. So these are just a few things that we'll cover this afternoon. First, I want to say that it is cultural practice that if a Hawaiian person or a Native Hawaiian person is going to be sharing ancestral knowledge, it is very important to give our background and our history and genealogy, so as that you can understand the source of where hula is coming from and where you're getting the information. So again, my name is Malia. My full Hawaiian name is Malia Lani. I was born in Honolulu in 1981, so I guess I just gave my age. My father was 3/4 Hawaiian, 1/4 Chinese. His mother, or my grandmother, is pure Hawaiian. He was born in 1946 in Queens Hospital in Honolulu, and he grew up in the westernmost point of Oahu in the mountain district that we know as Waianae. So when he was growing up, Hawaii was not even yet a country. It was actually it was an American territory. So he grew up eating from the land. If they didn't catch fish, they didn't eat. My mother is a European American from Menominee Falls, and so I grew up really biracially, and it really has helped to shape me who I am today. And again, now I reside here in Wisconsin. I learned my hula traditions beginning at the age of 4 through my first dancer, Anita Bradley, here in Wisconsin. And I also learned from John and Amy Malo, who John is Native Hawaiian and he's from the Big Island of Hawaii. I began to dance, probably performing as a kid, but mostly as a professional at about the age of 16 here in Wisconsin, and then nationally and internationally. And I was also able to dance in Hawaii for quite some time. So that was in the 2000s, the early 2000s. So thank you for allowing me to share that, and I just feel that was important to honor my ancestry and the way in which we convey these types of knowledge. Our focus here for hula when we meet on Fridays is really to use movement, chant, and culture as a way of wellness, healing, and self-care. So I would like to now discuss a little bit about how hula can be used as a daily practice, or a practice that we can integrate into our daily lives. Hula really is, it began about 1500 years ago, around 500 AD, and it started as a spiritual and cultural practice. The way that hula became was by observing rhythms, patterns, and cycles in nature. These cycles in nature and just the cycle of life in general is a sustainable way of looking at life. It's a full integration of using nature as a way to learn things about ourselves and to learn how to almost behave as people. So, for example, We have 4 major Hawaiian gods, and goddesses are part of our deities as well. There are as many as 40,000 deities in our traditional Hawaiian spirituality, and all of them are reflections of different beings in nature, different things that exist in nature. For example, our plant relatives may embody spiritual beings, as so does the water, so does the rain. Everything in nature corresponds not only physically to how we experience it, but also spiritually in the way that we believe it's representing certain gods or goddesses. So how can we integrate that into our everyday lives for healing? I think for me, personally, it's paying attention to those natural cycles, honoring those natural cycles, and allowing us to understand that the healing that the environment gives us is something that we can use, that we can absorb, and we can also express. So physically, it's good for us just in movement, spiritually as it is our connection to our land space. Mentally, it is a way to strive to make that physical connection and how we can express that in our bodies. So it is my spiritual way of practice, and it is a lifestyle, it is a life way. So we just so happen to have this ipu here, and I believe that this is our founder and CEO's Leah Denny. Leah is Native Hawaiian, just like I am, and we find that all of our implements in hula are quite sacred. So I'm going to bring it up. Is that okay, Xavier? Can you see it? Okay. So this is what we call an ipu. This is a single chambered gourd. Oftentimes it's a double chambered gourd. You can see that we have on the inside carved out the gourd, and it goes through a drying process. And these gourds actually grow all over the world. It's very interesting. They grow here in Wisconsin as well. And with these gourds, like I said, with all of our implements, they are sacred items. In that, as Hawaiians, we believe that this word we call mana. And mana is the energy that's inherent in all things, and it begins at the center of the universe and it radiates outward infinitely. So the way that these ipu are often used, and more often too with the double chambered gourd, which I'll show to you next time that we meet, we actually strike the gourd on the ground, and as we hit that gourd on the ground, it actually entices the earth to bring the energy up. So yeah. This is one of those examples of how we can use natural things, not only physically, but as an embodiment of things spiritual. And again, when we do strike that gourd on the ground, it brings up that mana or that energy, and it travels through the feet of the dancer. So today I will be showing you some dancing, and we can actually stand up, Xavier. All right, so when we dance hula, it's really important to do some few basics here. But before we get started in the basics, I want to take a moment to do some deep breathing. Now, deep breathing is a really great way to allow ourselves to become centered, to rest our heart rate. If your mind is feeling busy, it can help relax the mind. It can even slow down the speech, slow down our breathing, of course. And when we have that type of relaxation, or we allow ourselves to come into that center, it actually allows us to have more meaningful and connected dance experiences. So you can stand or sit when you deep breathe. I'm going to stand because I do want to be able to stand up and then start dancing some basics. So we're going to go ahead. You can sit, stand, or recline, however you like. We're going to take a deep inhale through the nose for a count of 4. We're going to exhale through the mouth for a count of 6, and closing the eyes is optional. Here we go, deep inhale, and exhale. Deep inhale, and exhale. deep inhale. Let's take one more deep breath. And exhale. We're going to go ahead and continue to deep breathe as we roll out the shoulders. Now we'll start with the shoulder and neck stretch, and then we'll move on into some proper stance and form motion. So I'm rolling the shoulders, and I'm going to begin with a surfer's paddle. That's what I like to call it because we use those same motions. We're going to take both arms forward and rotating the hands forward. You can also have the option of doing one hand at a time. It's whatever feels better for you. But we definitely want to start using the arm motions, our feet and our hands, the grace of our hips and our movements. We mimic those things in nature, and that's how we become graceful dancers. That's how we put our minds at peace. That's how we become connected to the earth. That's how we can start to engage as beings who are experiencing mana and also expressing. Let's do two more. And last one, we're going to go ahead and rotate those arms back. You can step wide too if you like. And rotating back. Ooh, my arm's already tired. And a couple more. And last one, let's go ahead and bring those arms out. We're going to reach out and stretching that arm across. We can step wide here as well too, and you can begin to move from side to side. How are you doing today, relatives? I hope you are doing okay. Jamie, how are you doing? Thank you for moderating, and thank you, Xavier, for filming. Stretching the shoulders. All right, we're gonna roll out the wrists here. And we're gonna look from side to center, stretching the neck to center and side to center, looking down gently towards the floor and looking up towards the ceiling, down towards the floor and up towards the ceiling. Let's go ahead and step out wide. Wide right foot, wide left foot, and we're gonna go ahead and just kind of crouch here. We're gonna give some pulses down low, point that tailbone towards the floor. I'm gonna bring my hands out in front of me just for balance. And remember, relatives, you can modify this however you feel comfortable. If you don't wanna bend as low, perhaps even if your knees or hips don't feel too good, you can always just focus on the hands. And I'll make sure we get to that. Pulsing a couple more times, making sure not to extend past the knees. 4, 3, 2, last one. All right, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna step forward with our left foot, stepping back on the right toes. We're gonna lunge here. And we're gonna straighten that front knee, bending the hands down. And let's take it to the other side. Feet together, remember modifying how you need to. And these are just suggestions. You can always dance however you feel comfortable. Remember, this really is about listening to your body, connecting to your earth space, connecting to the floor, connecting to the sky, connecting to spirit. I'm stretching each finger. All right. I feel nice and stretched. I feel actually warm, warmer than I should feel. Alrighty. So I want to teach you just a few basic motions today. We'll start with the feet. The most popular move, when you hear the word hula, you probably think of sort of like, you know, this, right? That's kind of how we think of hula. So let's just start with the feet. I want to teach you that move. Our heels are close together, our toes are slightly out, almost in a V. We're bending the knees, and I'm putting my hands on my hips. We're gonna walk to the right for 4 steps, and we're gonna walk to the left for 4 steps. So what that looks like is a step, together, step, feet together, okay? The knees are bent the whole time. We don't pop up. Let's try that again. Let's travel to the left. We're gonna step, together, step, together. Good, let's try that all together. We're gonna go right and left. Here we go, kahono, and step, together, step, flat foot, other way, step, together, step, and keep going. We're just gonna step, and step, flat foot, step. And notice how my knees are bent, So you're gonna see that the hips are swaying. As the hips are engaged, we're moving side to side, and the feet always stay flat. And I'm gonna put my hands back on my hips. So now when we travel, when we dance to the right, we're gonna look right. When we dance to the left, we're gonna look left. And right, and left, and right. This move again, it's called the ka holo, which means the holo, which means to travel. You can also call it holo, H-O-L-O. Couple more on each side, and left, and right, and left. One more on each side, to the right, and last one. How did that feel? Thanks for dancing with me, Xavier. That was awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna do another move. This move is called hula. I'm gonna show us 3 different moves, and then we'll do different combinations. So the next move with hula, the same thing as when we started with the ka holo. The heels are closer together, the toes are more slightly out, and we put our hands on our hips. The tummy's in, the chest is open, the shoulders are rolled down and back. What we're gonna do is we're gonna lift our right foot. So I'm mirroring you, I think. Am I mirroring? Like, do you see it?
Yes,
okay,
I think so.
So we're gonna lift our right foot, our right knee, placing that foot out in front of us on a 45-degree angle, and we're gonna lift at the knee and bring it back. Same thing other side, take it out and in, out and in, and the weight's on the back foot. So when you notice that that weight is on the back foot, it actually swings the hips here. See how the hips are swaying like a smiley face like this? And that's because the weight is on the back foot. So always making sure too, when we bring that foot out, it's a flat foot. We're not gonna point it. The heel and the ball of the foot is right there flat on the floor and swaying from side to side. All right, let's go ahead and do 4 more. Here we go, set of 4, right foot, left foot, 3 more, and left foot, 2 more, and left foot, last set. Let's go back to that ka holo step, 4 steps. Here we go, step together, step, flat foot, look left, 2, 3, flat foot, look right, look left. 1 more each side, right, and left. Okay, now standing in place, right foot out, left foot. Now this move again, called hula, H-E-L-A. That's our hula. 4, and 3, and 2, and last one. Let's go ahead, ka holo, here we go. 4 steps to the right, 4 steps to the left. Knees bent for both of these moves. The hips are engaged. And a little history about this motion. This is a motion of infinity. Notice how the hips are swaying almost like a figure 8. And it continues on. The hips never stop moving. Looking right, looking left, looking right, looking left. 1 more set, right and left. And then we're gonna go into our hula. Here we go, right foot out, out, and out, out. Bring that foot out, see the weight's on the back foot. Notice how the upper body is still. So if you were to see me like from here up, you probably wouldn't know that my feet are really doing anything or my hips. So we really have to disengage the hips from the waist. The movement comes from the hips. 4, 3, 2, and last set. Let's rest. How do you feel out there, relatives? I hope you're doing good. Woo! All right. So the next move I want to teach you is called the ami. So the first 2 that you learned was the 4-count hula, or the 4-count ka holo. That's the side step. Okay. The next move you learned was the hula. That's the stepping out on the corners. And the last step that we're gonna do is the ami. Now, the ami is a very, very interesting move. It's a stable move. Our feet, again, same thing, heels close together, toes slightly pointed out, and we're gonna sit into the heels. So if you see me from the side, I kind of have my feet out, and then I'm gonna sit. So here's me standing, here's me sitting. You don't wanna sit too low where it hurts, but you just kinda wanna sit a couple inches. And remember, the reason that we sit is because we want to be able to engage those hips. Those hips are very important for hula to always move. So anyways, for the ami, I'm sitting, making fists with my hands, just to put them here on my hips. And I'm gonna take my hips around the island, is how we call it, in a circle. So I'm first pushing my hip out to the right. I'm gonna push it around to the back. So from the side, I look like this, like I'm sticking my opale out. Then I'm gonna bring my hip to the left and to the front. Okay, so we're gonna do that in complete motion. Again, heels close together, toes slightly out, side, back, side, front. And notice the upper body again. If you were to see me from here, from like my waist level up, you would see almost no motion. It's really moving from having the weight in the hips and circling around nice and slow. Circles, full circles. Let's do 4 more, 3 more. We're gonna keep those heels on the ground this whole time when we push those circles. This again is called ami. Let's do 1 more and rest. Woo, how are you feeling? How are you doing out there, relatives? Okay, I hope you're doing well. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a moment to take a break. You can breathe. If you need to get a drink of water, it's a great time to grab that. I don't know about all of our relatives out there, but it is warm in here. It is very warm, which I'm glad for. It's better than being cold. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the aloha spirit. So aloha spirit, the word aloha in itself, can be a very healing word. Alo means myself or my being, and ha means my spirit or my breath. When Hawaiians used to meet, they would touch foreheads and noses, and we still do that sometimes. It doesn't happen as often here in Wisconsin, but it does happen. And in Hawaii, you see it more and more. Now, they would touch foreheads and nose, and they would just share a breath. Now, I wouldn't recommend that personally right now. I know that we want to make sure everyone's safe, but it is a common practice that that you would see in the olden days. And so sharing that breath is very interesting, because when we breathe in, we're breathing in oxygen, right? And that's fueling us. That's keeping us alive. And when we exhale, we give out carbon dioxide. Now, if we think about being who we are as being symbiotic and being a part of this natural cycle of life, and we think of when we breathe, who are we giving out? Who is receiving that? Well, who's actually receiving that energy is our plant energy, our plant relatives. So we give them our carbon dioxide, and our plant relatives, they joyfully breathe that in. It nourishes them, and then what they give us back is oxygen. So it's this natural cycle that, again, in the idea of ha, or sharing the breath, pressing foreheads and noses together, we actually are, again, mimicking nature. Oftentimes, I have one right here. Can you follow me this way, Xavier? Or it was here. Let me see. Oh yeah, here it is. By the way, welcome to the HIR Wellness Institute. If you have not yet been here, please do join us. Our office hours will slowly begin to integrate. We'll always keep you updated on our HIR Wellness page. This is a beautiful place. It is a phenomenal place of healing. I am a community healer. Xavier is a CARES counselor. We have our occupational therapist here, our other counselors, our community engagement and Indigenous affairs director, and all of us here are passionate about supporting you on your journey and path of self-care and wellness. For me, what that means is to be able to be with you culturally and to honor and respect who you are and what your traditions are. And I will always share my cultural traditions with you as well, in the spirit of aloha, in the spirit of love and respect. So this, you can see, is a lei, and I'm just going to tie it. This is one of our founders, or our founder, not one of our founders. This is our founder and CEO, Leah Denny. So This is kukui nut. Now, the reason I'm showing this lei right now is because as we speak of the aloha spirit, and we're talking about cycles of nature, we're talking about breathing in, and we give life to the plants, our plant relatives, and they give life to us. That is how I look at the symbol of a lei. It's a complete circle. It is the circle of life. And whenever we are given a lei, we do give it in honor, we do give it in love, we do give it in unity, and we do give it in respect. So, and this particular nut has a lot of history with it as well, a lot of uses. And there's hibiscus flower painted on here. But yeah, this is just one example of how we can express love in our cultural ways. Okay, let's go back to dancing. So, all right, so I want to go ahead and review some of these dance motions together. Before we do review them and combo them up, I do want to say that this is for healing. This is for movement. There is no judgment here. You do not have to feel like you have to dance it perfectly. Hula takes a lifetime of study and practice. So we're all just here together learning. Don't be afraid about making mistakes. I was always taught that when we dance hula together, we leave our shame at the door. So there is no reason to feel self-conscious about it. I know that probably most of us out there are just learning a few things right now. So again, let's go ahead and review the basics. We have our heels closer together, our toes a little bit more angled out, almost like in a V, about shoulder width distance or a little bit closer in, slightly bending the knees so that we can engage the hips. Now, we can talk about adding the hands. So when we were doing this circular motion called the ami, let's go ahead and add some hands with it too. We're gonna go ahead and bring our arms across our body, so you can start by bringing them out and you can fold them across. Notice that there's a gap here between the elbow and the body, and there's a gap here. You almost want to imagine like you have a beach ball resting between your underarms and your elbows. Notice the shoulders are relaxed. So if your shoulders are tight like this, allow yourself to let those shoulders be relaxed, and you can kind of open the chest. Imagine it as opening the heart. And for our fingers and hands, we want them softly cupped, almost like a turtle shell. We don't want the fingers open, we want them nice and closed. And we don't want that thumb to hang loose, we want that thumb nice and tucked under. So they have kind of that nice soft cup look. You don't need them tight, just relax the hand and keep those fingers together. Okay, nice streamline across. And notice those fingertips do not cross the center line of the body. So when we hula, we don't want them together like overlapping. We don't want this one over here and this one over here. We just want them nice and centered, going down the center line of the body. Okay, so let's go ahead and bend those knees. We're gonna ami now, and we're gonna keep these arms up. So we're gonna take the hips to the right, the back, the left, and the center, all the way around. Notice how the upper body stays still. Now, if this is your first time dancing in ami, keep those hips and toes on the floor, those heels and toes on the floor. And you might notice that your arms may start to flop like this. Just remind yourself to keep those elbows up. And if this is too much, that's okay, you can modify. You can put your hands on your hips, and we're gonna circle around and around. The other thing about this motion is if you feel yourself doing this with your upper body, if you feel like your upper body is moving like this, and we wanna keep it still, you can put your hands on your shoulders to help stabilize your shoulder movement. I'm gonna bring my hands back to my chest for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, let's kaholo. We're gonna step together, step, flat foot, other way. Notice how those elbows and wrists are straight. And step. Knees are still bent, the hips are swinging side to side. And next week when we meet together, I'm looking forward to being able to add our drum beats. We can dance about the moon, step together, step. Today is a very important day in the lunar cycle, so we can dance in honor of the moon today and next week. Looking to the left, step together, step flat foot. All right, let's hold it in place. We're gonna ami again, counterclockwise, pushing those hips for 4, 3, 2. Let's keep holding it in place. We're gonna take that right foot out and left foot out to help. Check those wrists, make sure they haven't fallen. Keep those elbows up. Remember, if the hands are feeling uncomfortable, you can put the hands on the hips into a fist. And if you need to modify however you need to, that is absolutely okay. This hula is all about healing, all about movement, all about your earth connection, and all about our connection with us as relatives. Let's do 8 more. Left foot, 7, left foot. Notice how the hips are swaying. Side to side, the weight's on the back foot. 4 more. And 3. And 2. Last one. Let's kaholo. Here we go. Step together, step, flat foot step, step. 1 more on each side. Right and left. Here we go. Right and left. Let's step back on 1 foot. Weight on the back foot. Let's touch the shoulders. Bring the hands and slightly bow. How did that feel? How do you feel, relatives? Woo! If you need some water, take some water. Again, I wanted to take a moment to let you know that we're here every Friday through our summer programs. We begin at 12:30, as long as we're not having technical difficulties, so my apologies for the first video starting late. Next week we will begin with drum beats. I will introduce you to our double chambered gourd, which looks quite similar to this single guy. They're both ipus. I look forward to that. As well, when we do meet next week, some of the things that you can do to be ready for the videos: have yourself some water so that whenever you need to, you can stop and drink and rest. Also, if you have a pa'u skirt, if you have one of those, that's great. If you don't, no worries. What a pa'u skirt is basically a 4-yard piece of fabric that is secured around the hips using elastic. So it falls about calf length, and at some point, most people will eventually get one, but not when they first start. It's something that we'll have to build and do together. So I look forward to teaching you that. Now, before we go, I wanted to talk about the moon phase today. Remember, as a practitioner of hula, it's very important to be aware of the natural cycles out there and understand the mana or energy that they express and how we can use that to integrate into our daily lives. Today is one of the coolest moons. Actually, it is the coolest moon. It is called Malia Lani. And Malia means like hazy as in moonlight, and Lani means heavenly. So we are in that heavenly full moon phase. What does that mean? It means that today, of any of the days of the month, is the absolute most productive day for fishing and planting. It's an excellent day to get out there, to get into the soil, to plant seeds, to work with the earth, to work with the land. And for fishermen, the same thing. This moon, more than any other day out of the month, is very, very productive for fishing also. If you are not a fisherman or a gardener, what can you do? Today is one of those days for you to sow the seeds in your mind, body, or spirit. If you have something, like, and what do I mean by the seeds in the body, mind, and spirit? Perhaps it's a project. Perhaps it's a goal. Perhaps it's something you always dream to when the time is right. You know, as we practice hula, we continue that earth connection, and we can look to the moon to guide us. We can look to the sun, the earth, the wind, the stars to guide us. If you want to begin those projects, if you have a seed that's been dormant in here or in here, if it feels right for you, today is a day that is literally encouraged by the moon, the sun, and the stars to be able to do those things productively. So if you feel like that's something you can integrate into your life and that's helpful for you, by all means. And I also want to encourage you too, if you have your own cultural traditions or ancestral teachings, you can always share that here too. Always feel free to share with us. And the reason that I teach the knowledge that I know, the wisdom that I have of my ancestral teachings, is because it has served me in so many ways in finding peace, in community, in finding connection to my brothers and sisters, to my relatives. It has helped me to stay connected to the land. And I feel in so many ways that hula is my life. It is my way that I connect to spirit. It is the way that I connect to the Creator. And you are more than welcome to share those ways that you may connect right here on this video post or any of the posts that we have. You can join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. during our summer schedule. Tuesdays, you can join Xavier and I for our Elders Creative Connections program. And you can also join us here 12:30 on Fridays for hula. So get yourself that bottle of water ready next week. Get yourself maybe a skirt or something that you can move comfortably in, and bring an open heart, a humble heart. We always say leave your shame at the door and be ready to dance in honor of our Creator and in honor of each other and in the spirit of aloha. Before we go, I would like to say mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Malama pono I kokino. Take good care of your body. Aloha nui, much love. Also, there is a community survey that's linked to this video. If you can take a moment to fill it out, it's completely anonymous, and it really helps us to understand how best to serve you, our relatives. So thank you for that. And ohuiho akuno, enjoy your mahealani, enjoy your full moon, and have a wonderful Aloha Friday. Aloha.